Welcome to another episode of Everyday Homemaking. It's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I take care of my food, my finances, my inbox, and planning. And last week I had planned to have granola this week, and I hadn't gotten around to make it. I was just too busy, so today is the day. Not only am I going to make granola, but I am also going to make some shelf-stable pancake mix and some shelf-stable cornbread muffin mix. These are mixes that I can put in a jar and set them in my pantry and just scoop it out when I need it. So let's get that started. Empty. ½ cup of grapeseed oil, 1/4 cup of maple syrup, 1/4 cup of honey, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to give that a good whisk. Three cups of oats. Chopped pecans. One cup of slivered almonds. Now we're going to give that all a stir. I will be adding some dried fruit. I've got some dried cranberries and some dried raisins. Well, of course raisins are dried, but I've got some raisins and some dried cranberries. But I won't add those until the baking time is almost up. Maybe even not until after it's done baking. And then I'll put this in the oven and let it bake for about 20 minutes. And I will stir it halfway through. And then I'll put it in an airtight jar. I think the hardest part here is getting it all stirred, because you want to make sure you get all of the oatmeal coated. And you want to be sure to use old-fashioned oats. You don't want to use those quick cooking oats. They just don't stand up well to the heat. I've been wanting to have granola in the morning with my yogurt. So I decided the first thing I do today, once I got my daily routine accomplished, was to make the granola. Yeah, looks like it's all starting to get coated nicely. Now it's time to spread granola out. And I use grapeseed oil because it's a neutral oil. It's not strongly flavored. I like to use avocado oil in cooking, but that might have flavored my granola just a little bit more than I wanted. Now I'll just spread this to the edges of the parchment paper. It looks good already. It looks delicious. And as I said earlier, I will add the raisins and the cranberries toward the end, because you don't want the fruit to get all burnt or super dried out. So my oven has come to temperature. I'm going to bake this on 300 for 20 minutes. And I'm going to stir it halfway in between. Going to place this on the middle rack. And as I said, I'm going to let that bake for about 20 minutes, and I'll stir it halfway in between. And this is probably a good time to say that this video is brought to you by Aprondiva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com. It smells good. It smells all golden, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it does. It smells all golden. Maybe it's the honey and the pecans that I'm smelling. Now, when I do take it out of the oven for the final time, it will still be a bit moist, and it'll dry as it cools. And I didn't need to spray the parchment paper, and now I see why. I can see it's all nice and moist from the oil that we used in the granola. All right, back in for another 10 minutes. The almonds are almost toasted, but I want to put a little bit more toast on them, so I went ahead and added my raisins, just a cup of raisins. And I'll give it maybe 5 more minutes in the oven, and then that'll be a wrap. Now let this sit on cooling racks. This recipe calls for 6 cups of flour. And I've got some flour in my press that I had put up into 6-cup measurements. So I'll just get one of those out. 6 cups of all-purpose flour. Bay leaf. The flour was kind of like in a big cake, so I need to get it broken up. think I need a bigger bowl. I was going to use this glass bowl so you can see. However, that wasn't working. So I'm going to give this flour a good whisk just to break it up. And then I'm going to add my other dry ingredients. And I'll be using sugar, baking powder, baking soda, and a little salt. And I've already written down the instructions for how to actually make the pancakes. And I keep those in the pantry in a little basket close to where I keep the pancake mix. I want a bigger whisk. Yeah, this is much better. Okay, so now I'm going to add 1/3 cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Now I'm going to give this a good whisk because I want to make sure that all of this is mixed together. And then I'll transfer it to a jar, an airtight jar, and I'll be able to use it as I need it. I can take 1 cup of the mix to make 3 to 4 pancakes. And you can purchase pancake mix in the store for $3 or $4 for a box. But when you've got the fixings at home, it's just as easy to make it yourself. Save a little cash. Now, I'm going to put it into my jar. So here we go, a jar of pancake mix. Now, I have already written out the instructions for how to actually use this dried pancake mix. I keep it inside the pantry close to where I keep the pancake mix. I sit it in a little basket. When I'm ready to use it, I just pull the card out and I'm good to go. If my husband's gonna make pancakes, then I'll make sure he has the card. But it's pretty simple and pretty similar to other pancake mixes. So, I'm going to get this put in the pantry and get this put in the basket, and then I'll get ready to make my Jiffy corn muffin mix dupe. It's time to refill my flour jar. So I got this out of my press. This is another of my 6-cup bags. So now I'm going to make this dupe for the Jiffy corn muffin mix. I love Jiffy corn muffin mix, but I've watched it steadily go up in price. I used to get it for like 35 cents a box, and then it was 50 cents a box, and then it was 67 cents a box. So I thought I would try and make my own. So I'm going to start with 1 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. With the 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, I'm going to add 1 cup of yellow cornmeal, 6 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to whisk that together. And once this is thoroughly whisked together, I will store it in an airtight container. And then when I'm ready to use it, I'll just need to scoop out 1.5 cups of this muffin mix. And of course, I'll add an egg and some milk and some other things. And I've already gotten the things I need to make up the batter for the muffin mix written on a card, and I will take that to the jar. Some of this flour is a little lumpy because it was kind of squished in that bag. And if that happens to be baking powder, I want to get that squished out. I like to make sure my mix is thoroughly mixed. So to compare it to a box of Jiffy mix, this particular batch is equivalent to 2 boxes. Yep. This makes up about exactly 2 batches. So this jar is 2 boxes of Jiffy mix. These are green onions that I planted the other day. I set them in water for a bit to see how they do. And now I'm going to plant this one, and there's the one I just planted. We'll see how it does. These are apparently taken off. We'll see. And I'm going to trim just a little bit of this basil. It smells so good. I'm going to dry it. There. Today is baking day, but while I'm out here, I'm going to trim some of this sage. It's coming along nicely as well. And last year I waited a little long to trim some of it, and then I lost some of it. So I'm going to get these bigger leaves. And the sage just smells heavenly. I'm leaving plenty to clip for fresh when I need it. Look at this parsley. Oops! Knocked the twins into the pond. There. And I guess this is part of my everyday homemaking as well. I mean, this is a day that I think about food, and these herbs certainly are food. And then I want to take some of this rosemary too while it's nice and tender. It'll grow up some more, but I want to get some while it's nice and tender. There. I'll clip some time later, but right now we're just doing the parsley, the sage, and the basil. Oh, and look, I've got a stone here. I think I'm going to make some stone soup. And this is why I'm going to give these herbs a gentle rinse. You can just see there's some of the little grubbiness, some of the dirt that's in there. So just a soft rinse, and then I'll lay them out to dry on a flour sack towel. And then once they're dried, meaning that all the water that I just rinsed them with has dried off, I will put them in a paper sack and just let them dry for a few weeks. I like to use the rosemary when it's at its tenderest like this. It's great with chicken, turkey, pork. And who knows, I might decide to put these in the food dehydrator. Now I'm going to move these aside. I think this granola has cooled long enough. So now I'm going to put it in an airtight jar. Well, there you go. Delicious. Granola. So here we have a jar of pancake mix. 2 jars of a Jiffy corn muffin mix dupe. So half a jar makes 1 box of Jiffy. So 4 boxes of Jiffy corn muffin mix dupe. And then the piece de resistance, my homemade granola. I am just so glad that I finally got this made. I've been wanting it all week and now it's done. So tomorrow when I have my yogurt, I will have some granola in that. And then my husband just likes to have handfuls of granola when he's sitting in his chair and just snacking. And then of course I've got a few herbs over there that I've dried. Now if you want to see how I dry herbs in a paper bag, you can click this video right here. Otherwise, for more homemaking and homekeeping information, click here.